world. So if we were to real quickly overview how the early church, why were they so excited about Revelation? Well, in chapter 1, they found out we can have hope because while we're here in all of our troubles, we can love and serve God as we struggle through life. How did Paul describe Christians when you read his epistles? Paul calls us, now I'm going to speak in Greek. See if you can understand it. I'm going to speak in Greek and see if it sounds like anything you've ever heard of. The description Paul gave of Christians when he wrote to the Philippians, he called us soon agonizomai. Does that agonizomai sound like an English word? What does it sound like? Agonize. You ever agonized? Agonized over a test or studying or a loved one sick or parent, or grandparent dying? Agonize. You know what Paul called Christians? Soon, that's the Greek preposition with. S-U-N in Greek means with in English. Agonizomai means struggling, agonizing. Paul said Christians are fellow strugglers. That's why we're supposed to be close to each other. We're all struggling. We're all struggling with the same things. God says there's no temptation that's ever taken you that's not common to man. But God is faithful. Always make an exit door. Like, I love how they illustrate my sermons with, see that word exit? Every time we're tempted, there's an exit door just like that one there. And guess who's standing with both doors open with their arms out? Jesus. He's saying, you don't have to give in to that. You don't have to disobey me. Come on, come to me. God is faithful because he knows we're struggling. So as they read Revelation 1, they saw John was struggling. And so God shows Jesus, the risen, God the Son in his power and glory, coming to help us and stand with us anywhere we are. Where was John? He was on Patmos. Patmos was miles from anywhere. It was a Roman prison colony, kind of like Siberia or a gulag, if you ever heard of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the gulags out there in Siberia. We have hope because we're part of God's saints. We're fellow strugglers, and Jesus knows our address. He knows right where we are. And then we get to chapter 2 and 3. Jesus walks among us. He's not just visiting Patmos. In chapter 2 and 3, we find out Jesus is actually walking among believers as they gather in fellowship at the church. Jesus walks among us in his church. By the way, Jesus comes to church whenever it gathers. Whenever a body of true believers gathers, Jesus said, I'm there too. That's why I was brought up that whenever the church met, my parents took us, whether we wanted to go or not. Why? They said, you don't want to miss Jesus being there. I don't think a lot of people go to church because Jesus is there. They go there because of the music, or they go there because their friends are there, or they go there because they have to. But the reason we're supposed to go there is Jesus walks among us, his church, pointing out to each of his children what we're doing, both right and wrong. See, when Jesus goes in chapters 2 and 3 in Revelation, he's pointing out, oh, that was really good. That's the church in Philadelphia. No, they weren't doing anything wrong that he listed. Were they sinning? Yes. Did he talk about it? No. Why? Because it is possible to have a life as a believer that absolutely pleases God, and he doesn't have to criticize anything because we are convicted when we sin, and we immediately confess and forsake and ask for his cleansing, and we go on, and he goes, that's the way. And they were the only church like that. And so that's why people love Revelation. They saw themselves in there. They saw you could live a life struggling and please the Lord. They saw that you could live stumbling and falling into sin, and yet confessing and repenting, forsaking and finding his cleansing. And so each of us, if we listen for him pointing out what we're doing that pleases him and what we're doing that doesn't, we can be more useful. You know what the greatest thing in all of life is? To be useful to God. That's what being holy is. It's being useful, set apart,